Is the media your friend, or does the media actually not care about you one stinking bit? I don't know if you have any idea of where I stand on the issue, but I firmly place myself and this show outside of the media circle. This is a circle of media, Greg, and this is you. We are not inside the media circle in my mind. I understand there's people that tune in. You know, we're on one of the most well-regarded radio stations in all of really national media, certainly here in DFW.
Media platforms, if you will.
It's a platform. It's a station. It's a strong signal. But I want to be clear. I don't think of us as the media at all. I do absolutely think of us as an advocate for our friends and neighbors and real estate clients, and which is why so often on this show, we lead with a headline and then tell you why it's utterly unreliable. Not because we have it out for any one media source, not because I think anyone, reporter or so-called journalist is even wrong. They're often doing exactly what their job is to do, but it's important to me to clarify to our friends and our neighbors and our listeners and viewers and consumers and clients that they are in a very different business than us. We are, certainly when we represent a buyer or a seller or an investor, it is our job, it's our fiduciary responsibility, it's our ethical obligation to do what's best for our client. That's not true of the media. There used to be sort of an unspoken agreement that the media was trying to help their consumer, their reader, their listener. It's now generally assumed that they're out for their own interest to get more readers, more listeners, more viewers, right? And I'm not going to say I'm totally exempt from ever wanting more listeners or viewers. Our hope is that we would earn your listenership or your viewership by being a great advocate for you. So as we make our way through the show today, we are going to talk about one and probably only one media source, media outlet, piece of media that has a large audience and drives our national opinion, certainly more than I think it should. And I got to tell you, folks, before we get to what it is, I cannot stand it. It makes me so angry. I get physically, I can feel the anger, and I hesitate to give this opinion of me publicly, but I'm talking rage. This is such a manipulation. This is freaking terrible journalism. This is stupid and manipulative. And we're not going to talk about what it is yet. We got a little business to do here, but we're going to be talking about that in a matter of 2 minutes, and we may spend the whole show on it today.
Well, I can't wait to hear from you. I've got questions.
I know you do, because you're a little bit more loyal to that garbage source than I am.
Well, as one of the leading media real estate experts in North Texas, let me tell you about Patrick Gleros and his team over at ABC Bank. Patrick and his crew are the ones you need to go to if you are thinking about getting mortgage, refinancing, or you just have questions. You can reach out to Patrick 972-386-1231. You can go to patrickgleros.com, Glaros, patrickgleros.com. You can start an application directly on his website. NMLS number 308804.
Nailed it.
I know.
I don't know that it's necessary. You can be angry about the outlet and what they're reporting, but I like to hear from you to unpack the truth about things and why we should care.
Yep.
And the reason that this stuff is in the media is because housing is taking a hit. I mean, the generation below us doesn't feel like they can buy a house. It doesn't feel like there's enough housing. And so that just kind of trickles down to the NAR, just the fact that realtors got sued or whatever, this organization, these new rules around the housing market. And so it's as a consumer, you're like, what does this buzz all mean? What are you talking about? And then that realtors are evading these rules. So then, am I getting scammed? How do I don't know. As a consumer, I would like to hear from you how I'm supposed to navigate this person helping me make the largest purchase I will probably ever make in my life.
I also think it was impressive how she made realtor
3 syllables.
4 syllables.
She got to 4 the second time.
Realtor.
I get nervous because it's trademarked. So I don't even know if I can say the word.
But don't worry. It's trademarked by an organization that's in the absolute bullseye of the scope of this garbage media outlet. For really...
Talk to me.
almost no factually based reason whatsoever. We're going to get to that in a minute. Okay. Stand by for the headline and the name of this source. That I don't do this. I don't name names and get all mean and angry about stuff, but this is such freaking irresponsible behavior. So hang tight. Before we get there, more broadly than this one source and this one piece, you just said something that I think is important, more so than your wild and willful mispronunciation of the word. You talked about housing is, and then I'm trying to remember exactly what you said, but you said like it's kind of, you didn't say under attack. You said taking a hit. Housing is taking a hit. And I don't fault you in any way because we love your perspective on this show. Your perspective is the consumer's perspective. You don't have a real estate license, and so we benefit from you getting to be a mom and
did you hear that,
a working
we benefit
neighborhood part of the conversation, right? As opposed to me who obsesses about this stuff and is constantly reading, writing, listening, learning, going, traveling, all this stuff. So there's real value to it. So I really appreciate it. But you can say that all day long. When someone who by design has a very large platform, they have to be more responsible with their word choices. And I would say real estate is taking a hit is a very vague statement. What does that mean? Are values taking a hit? Are professionals taking a hit? Is inventory taking a hit? And this is where it's actually really, really hard to get this right. So to be a reporter or journalist, which I think is a very generous term for some of these people, you're almost always a generalist. Now, some of these people, and the person we're about to talk about, claims to be a specialist on our industry. Therefore, I now hold you to a different standard. If you are the real estate writer for a certain media outlet, you should understand real estate better. By the way, I'm not saying you need to be pro real estate. I think a part of journalism is to be the critic, to be the investigator, to be the one that calls people of power and influence to account. I happen to think The Daily and the New York Times suck at their jobs more than they should. We're all going to have bad days, right? But I'm telling you, The Daily's reporting on the industry of residential real estate is irresponsible. It's activist journalism. It is intended to make housing cheap. They literally have stated that their goal, like their understanding is that the world is anti-real estate agents with the desired outcome that should make housing more affordable. That is a flawed line of thinking. Now, if they genuinely believe that real estate agents are being incentivized for poor behavior or illegal or unfair activities, then it is worthy of investigation. By the way, I don't think you've ever heard me say that I think these lawsuits themselves are inherently like unfair or unworthy. I think some of the outcomes have been inappropriate. Some of that has to do with how arguments have been made in defense of the industry. I think they've been made very poorly. But no one that I've never met anyone that's been more critical of the residential real estate industry overall than me. I'm not here as an apologist for all realtors everywhere. As a matter of fact, I say all the time that I think most realtors are pretty bad at their jobs. I think there should be way fewer real estate agents, and real estate agents should be held to a much higher standard. That does not mean that I'm just going to blindly agree with headlines and activist journalism that is operating off of false premises, claiming that the entire industry is trying to make housing more expensive and is anti-consumer. How many real estate agents do you know that aren't like pretty engaged in their community and really care for people? Even the ones that are kind of bad at the technical job tend to be the most caring, neighborly people on the planet.
Yeah, I really agree with you.
Okay, so apologies to anyone watching or listening that thought that whole ramp up was unnecessary, but I'm trying to lay a fair groundwork before I tell you how bad I think some of this stuff is.
Let's go. I mean, I think that you needed to respond to that.
So tell everybody what we're responding to.
Well, The Daily put out an episode a few weeks ago or last week or so, basically talking about because of the NAR. Did I do that right?
Yeah, there was a class action lawsuit.
I'm always
in the
scared to say
there's a
NRA.
class action lawsuit in the state of Missouri against almost all the major brokerages and the National Association of Realtors. Most people don't even know or care what that is. It is the largest professional association in America. They have over 1 million members. And by the way, this is just one of the many things that makes me want to lose my mind. During both of the episodes of The Daily that have attacked the industry in the last 2 to 3 years, they have said ignorantly, ignorant is the right word. They don't know the information, yet they speak about it. That's ignorance. That the National Association of Realtors is basically like taken over the word realtor. They have not taken over the word realtor. They created the word realtor. It is not a word in the dictionary unless it's been put there recently due to it becoming such a common term. It's like if you and I started a club and made up a word for our members. And we just said, you're called a flobbly floop if you're in our group. We just made it up.
The flobbly floop.
But would we trademark that?
If your organization grew to over 1 million people and you were trying to protect the industry, and for someone over here that's like, well, I'm a flobbly floop and I do crazy, insane stuff, you'd be like, no.
You can't say that.
You can't say that. That does not represent our membership well. So that is actually what the word realtor means. It just means I'm a member of the National Association of Realtors. Real estate agent is a very different word with a somewhat different definition. That usually means I have a license issued by my state to sell real estate, which in Texas, it's kind of slightly, it's a licensed real estate salesperson. And then there's a licensed real estate broker. There's licensed real estate inspectors. There's licensed real estate appraisers. These are different versions of a somewhat similar license.
I don't want to take this conversation deeper than we need to, but I'm just watching you fight for your identity.
I'm trying to just fight for, honestly, like what is true. And you have to define, in our current culture, you have to define very simple things. But this isn't that simple. I understand the confusion, but if you're going to speak to millions of people in your media platform, you could have done that research really quickly. Instead of saying, they like taking over the word. No, they invented the word. By the way, they invented the most powerful trade association on the planet. And they have generally advocated for homeowners. Of course, they have at times leaned a little bit more towards their paid membership than just homeowners. But there's a lot of reasons that homeowners have real benefits, like homestead exemptions, over 65 exemptions. There have been real benefits for homeowners based on how the National Association of Realtors has advocated for property rights and homeowner rights. There's a lot of people that would be in much worse situations if the National Association of Realtors hadn't been very pro home ownership. Look at lots of other countries around the world. Virtually every other country around the world, home ownership is either more difficult, way less regulated, or significantly more costly. Now, I'm not upset that people want housing in America to be more affordable. And I'm not at all upset that people want real estate agents to be held to a high standard. I think the standard that is held by the National Association of Realtors is way too low. I've been writing reports and white papers about this. We did all kinds of training when the big class action suit came out and all these people lost in the suit. I don't think they should have lost. I think they should have had a better argument, but they did lose. I wrote a 20-something page report. We did trainings for months and months about how we've been prepared for this for decades. We've been operating at the standard that just recently became a new requirement that, by the way, the state of Texas has been begging their membership to operate based on that same standard for years and years and years, which is basically that on the buying side, agents need to have their clients sign paperwork, understand who pays who, when, where, why, and how. We've been doing that since 2003. So I don't have any problem with these regulations. I think they're great. I think there should be more standards. I think real estate agents should have to be just as professional as your attorney, your CPA, and your doctor. I think it should be almost as hard to get a real estate license. So I'm not arguing against agents being better, housing being accurate, housing being priced well, and fairness and advocacy. I'm against people who have an axe to grind, who are misappropriating sources and facts, and who think that suit was intended for a reason that it was not intended for.
Todd?
Yep.
I'm here for you and to elevate
Drive you nuts.
Correct?
I noticed earlier that you sort of undermined the whole argument before your live read, but go ahead.
Yeah, I did. Sorry about that. I took to Chat GPT.
Always a reliable source.
On the definition of the word flobbledy-floop for you.
Floppity-floop, yep.
Would you like it really quickly? It says,
can't wait.
our flobbledy-floop is not an official word in a dictionary. No, it does sound delightfully whimsical. It's like something straight out of a Roald Dahl book or a Harry Potter spell gone a bit sideways. Then it gives you 3 little things. Flobbledy-floop, a silly, chaotic, or an unexpected situation. Well, that whole dinner one is a bit of a flobbledy-floop, wasn't it?
Hold on, Courtney, real quick. There's 2 potentials remaining. Do you think either of them is the name of a member of an organized professional association?
Probably.
A nonsense word used to describe a person or thing when no other word will do. Stop acting like such a flobbledy-floop and help me clean up. And then the last one, the sound something makes when it falls over in a spectacularly clumsy way. The trifle hit the floor with a flobbledy-floop.
Okay.
Brilliant.
No bull. The thing that was most confusing of all of that is what's a trifle?
What?
Yeah.
I know what one is.
I don't know what a trifle is.
Really?
Hit me with it.
It's a dessert.
Oh, okay. I was thinking...
It's like a layer of sponge, layers of cream, you've got fruit.
I know of a trifle.
Custard.
But you said when something falls over, and I was thinking of like a piece of equipment.
Oh,
or
it falls.
something.
Okay. And it goes in a clear
Got it.
container.
Yeah.
You have to be able to see the layer.
That I have. I was picturing like some structural thing falling over. I didn't picture dessert when it said falling over.
Also a very famous Friends episode when the pages stuck together and Rachel made a half trifle, half shepherd's pie.
Got it. Ooh, what a combo. Okay. So, Courtney, I think there are some other questions that come from this episode of The Daily. By the way, if you're a big supporter of The Daily, look, you do you trust whatever sources you want to trust. I'm specifically speaking to the 2 really significant pieces they've put out in the last 2.5 years, highly targeting the real estate industry, which I think is worthy of being targeted. I think most agents are not very good. Therefore, consumers should expect more from agents. I also think consumers should take a little bit more responsibility in evaluating the professionals they hire, whether it's real estate agents, accountants, doctors, attorneys, people to fix your AC, or anybody. Like it's your life, your home, your dollars, your move. But you should be able to find a professional that you can trust to lead and guide and advocate for you. And most real estate agents are just not up to the standard that I would like them to be. That being said, I do think there's a lot of irresponsible journalism. I think the assumption here coming out of that lawsuit is that meant real estate agents were all going to lower their commissions. That's just not how a free market in the United States of America should work. You should have the ability to hire a super cheap agent or a much more costly agent or everything in between. By the way, here in Dallas-Fort Worth, you have all those options, and you have for decades. 15 plus years ago, I owned a flat fee real estate franchise where our commissions were very fixed fees, very low. We tend to not be one of the cheapest anymore. We do that by design because we deliver world-class value. We have over 800 5-star reviews where people are like, this is worth every penny. We walked away with more money because we hired a better professional.
I literally had lunch with a guy this week and we were talking about what we do as a team.
Yeah.
And he was just blown away. He was like, I've literally never heard of anything like this.
Yep.
This is so different to any other realtor that I've ever known.
Yeah.
He's like, and I know several, but the people I know are like trying to like make scraps and they're just trying to like find a deal.
Yep.
And he was just like, this is like so eye-opening.
Yeah. Gibson had a meeting with someone this week that had moved 8 times. And did you just say 8? Maybe his was a different number. Maybe I'm confusing the 2. They had moved a bunch of times, like moved for jobs a bunch of times. And she told him, I've never seen anyone that slowed down, showed me the process, set expectations, or offered this much value. Like I've just never seen anyone that did more than showing you the house, writing a contract, helping you find a plumber.
Well, I've said before, like it's so encouraging to be reminded of that because we can become numb to it here. When I worked at a big church for like 5 years,
Yep.
and we would have smaller churches come in and take tours of what we had done, and it was always a really cool reminder
Right.
of like see their reactions of like, whoa, like this is
And I'll tell you,
so incredible. And I was like, yeah, and I need to be reminded of that.
I'll tell you what I appreciate about that is in your church example, it really was oftentimes the scale. And then you and I know the church, they would then be like, wow, the intentionality, the way you guys stick to biblical truth here. But it wasn't just about scale. In real estate, we're almost the opposite. It's like, oh, I've always used these big, loud, bright logo companies, but I've also used my sister-in-law, my friend from the neighborhood. I've just, regardless of size and scope and notoriety, I've never seen people this intentional, this deliberate, this professional, this values focused. So that's who we are here at the Todd Tremonti Home Selling Team. If you're interested in a real estate professional that doesn't meet the very low standard that's being attacked by the media and sometimes the courts, but folks that have been over delivering on those standards for 20 plus years. We're celebrating our 20th year as a team. I've been in the business longer than that this year. Reach out. We'd be happy to help you buy, sell, or just have a conversation about some real estate decisions that maybe you're not going to take action on for 6 months or 6 years. That's fine. We've been here 20 years. We're going to be here another 20 years. And we consider it an honor when people trust us and our professionalism and our advocacy for the consumer, which is, I hope, what you're hearing on the show today. If that's what you're looking for and you want to have a conversation, or you think you may be buying or selling soon, or you just want to know what your property is worth, or any of those things, give us a call, 214-310-0008. That's 214-310-0008, or online at toddtremontiteam.com. That's toddtremontiteam.com. If you forget all that, just Google Todd Tremonti, spell it the best way you can. You're going to see over 800 5-star reviews. Nobody in Dallas-Fort Worth has more reviews than us. No one has more 5-star reviews either. And you're just going to see if we're full of bull or if other folks have experienced great value and care and advocacy and become our friends and attend our crawfish parties and our huge team events and celebrate Mother's Day and all that good stuff with us.
If you haven't checked on your home insurance or your auto insurance recently, reach out to DP Lambert, dp.lambert, Lambert at goosehead.com. 214-614-8595 is the phone number. If you haven't reached out to DP, you need to give him a call. He has saved myself, Todd, clients, family members, friends.
Hundreds and hundreds of
if
friends.
Not thousands of dollars over the years. DP is who you need to call. dp.lambert at goosehead.com, or just head to toddtremontiteam.com, click on the radio tab, and that's where you're going to see all of our recommended pros and vendors.
Hey, Courtney.
Hey.
What's tomorrow?
Mother's Day.
Hi, Ian. It's Mum.
So great.
Here's the sad thing is that I always miss my mum's Mother's Day because it's on different days. So there's like no reminders of it. Like
Right.
it was like 2 months ago.
If you needed a reminder, how could you get one?
This feels
I mean, a calendar, but you know.
Hi, Ian. It's Mum.
As sweet as that
good.
woman is.
Generally,
could we
my
get
brother and sister bail me out and they buy us something and stick my name on it. And
I love a group gift.
Could you get a calendar reminder, say 3 weeks ahead of time? It's a long shipping.
It moves
hard.
around and changes and stuff. And
It does?
I know.
yeah. Whereas Father's Day is the same day. That's also confusing. Father's Day in England and here is the same day. Mother's Day is different. It's tough.
Could we
It's
could we
tough.
find a way though?
Hi, Ian. It's Mum.
She
find a
deserves
way.
it. She
We'll find
deserves
a
it.
way.
I mean, I do find a way. I don't like miss it. Like I always say Happy Mother's Day, but I generally find out about it like the week before. When
My
I talk to
mom
her.
deserves it. My mom's an absolute delight.
My mum's an absolute delight too, but I
Now-
don't have any advertising to remind me.
But we've heard your excuse many times now. Let's move on. Here's the question, though. My mom is a delight and a wonderful mother and grandmother. She doesn't necessarily have a social media following. Courtney?
I do.
Well, your mom is a character in your
Right.
life. And when we come back from the break, we'll be celebrating
Let's celebrate
Mother's
Barb.
Day, but specifically in Barb fashion.
Okay.
Sound good?
Perfect.
If you're thinking about buying, selling, or transacting real estate in any way, or maybe remodeling or looking for a vendor or looking for some insight into how to love your home more, give us a call. 214-310-0008. By the way, if you think The Daily is an authoritative media source,
Would love to hear
and
from you.
you want to agree with their coverage of the real estate industry, we'll be talking to you about that when we come back from the break right after news, traffic, and weather.
ToddTremontiTeam.com.
Got a little hot in the first segment, folks. I got a little angry. And if I'm being real honest, I'm still a little angry. Still a little angry about garbage reporting. I do not like someone who plays it fast and loose with the facts. I take some pride in knowing what I'm talking about and not talking about what I don't know about. That doesn't make me special. I think everyone should operate that way. Yet that is not the case oftentimes with media, specifically to residential real estate media. It's the negativity that gets shared, gets viewed, gets watched. It's the panic and the fear-mongering that works, that apparently drives profits in reporting. Now, I will say, oftentimes there's bad news to report on. There's relevant industry information. I just wish there was a single source that anyone could trust to say, I really think that's a straight shot there. They're doing their best to relay the information and actually help me in and around my real estate. We are making every effort to do that here on this show. We are specific to Dallas-Fort Worth. We comment on things beyond our marketplace, but I sure hope if you're a longtime, loyal, or first-time listener or viewer here, that you hear us say things like, I don't know, that's not my area of expertise. Or, hey, this is what I've heard or what I've read, where there's some humility in the conviction around facts, around dangerous thinking, around suggestions or warnings. And what's got me so frustrated about a lot of media, which is, it's popular to be frustrated about media, but it has always been the case that in I believe, niche industries, specifically residential real estate, which no one's more critical of real estate agents than me, it's an industry typically run, or at least most populated by people who are not full-time, fully committed, and really dedicated to running a business. It tends to be a backup career or a second option or a part-time retirement gig. And by the way, I'm not attacking or judging any one person that has been their journey or is trying to make it that way. There's exceptions to lots of rules, but the general rule here is that is not leading to excellence. That is not leading to advocacy for the client at the highest level. That is not leading to world-class results. Sellers who sell with someone who's not full-time, fully dedicated are obviously much more statistically likely to not maximize their equity. They're not likely to have a great experience. On the buy side, the same thing is true. And every time I say things like this, which is all the time, I hear from agents that are super angry at me. I'm a single mom. How else was I supposed to start? I'm not attacking you. I'm simply stating the fact that clients, when they make huge real estate decisions, would be better off with a world-class full-time expert most, if not all the time. I'm sure there's an exception here or there, but there are very few. And I've been doing this for over 20 years, and we continue to see people get put in really bad situations when they hire their knucklehead nephew, or they hire their college friend who just got a license, or they hire their kid's teacher who's selling some houses in the summertime, or their CPA also has a license and helps out on the weekends. I'm never going to say that can't go well for you. I'm going to say it almost never goes well for people. So I'm willing to be critical of our industry. I am always critical of our industry. I am on a crusade of sorts to raise the bar in our industry. We coach and consult with real estate agents all over the country to bring more excellence. But when the media basically says there was a court ruling and agents are defying the ruling and changing the way they do everything and avoiding the consequences, I'm going to call it out. And that's what's going on here. The Daily and the New York Times have just said basically there was a court ruling against real estate agents and they were supposed to have to do this and they're not doing this. And that is not true.
This first segment was brought to you by Patrick Leros, and his team with ABC Bank. Patrick should be your first stop or call if you have mortgage questions, if you're thinking about getting a mortgage, refinancing, if you just have any questions at all, really. Reach out to Patrick. PatrickGleros.com is where you can go and start an application directly there on the website. 972-386-1231, NMLS number 308804. Courtney?
Yes.
Where would you like to begin?
Well, I'm most interested actually in what Todd would say to, do you think that we should all rent our homes for the World Cup?
Okay. You're asking when the World Cup is in Dallas, should we rent out our houses short term?
Correct.
Should people make the steps necessary to be able to go do that?
I'm really considering this.
Okay. So here's what everyone take a deep breath.
It's going to be a month of
On
chaos.
the count of 3, everyone take a deep breath.
Awesome.
1, 2, 3.
It's going to be awesome.
Most people listening probably can't do that because there is probably a city code or neighborhood ordinance that tells them that they are not allowed to do that. If they are allowed, they probably are required to get a permit. Some cities have outlawed short-term rentals. We've talked about this on the show before. And I take it back. I shouldn't say most people because the show covers a massive geography, but a lot of people. Now, if you are someone that's eligible and you can do that and you are willing to be displaced for weeks at a time, these things can be highly lucrative. Make sure your insurance coverage, call DP, make sure you're covered appropriately for someone to be a short-term for-profit renter in your property, because if damage happens, you may not be covered appropriately. My brother lives in Austin, and when the Circuit of the Americas, the racetrack there has Indy,
And F1 too.
and F1, yeah, they get massive offers for like, the really nice houses out there will get offered like $100,000 for like 10 days. Now, that's probably slightly different than World Cup in Dallas, is as big as the geographic area is. But my answer is, hey, if that's really enticing to people and you're able to based on local regulations, I don't fault you for considering it.
What if hypothetically you have a brother that's flying in for the month with some friends?
For the whole month?
Well, they're going to come in for the entirety of the World Cup. They're going to start on the East Coast and work their way over. But they're going to come to Dallas.
How? That's incredible.
They take vacation. It's foreign to most Americans,
Yeah,
but
Well,
take it.
not taking vacation foreign, but like attending the entire World Cup.
We've been saving up for years.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, hypothetically, they're going to come over and do that, and they're going to bring some friends. Would you charge the friends to stay at your own property?
You're asking me personally, right?
Hypothetically speaking, if you had a brother that was in
Oh,
England
I see.
and they were coming over with friends, or you wouldn't charge your brother, obviously, but would you charge your friends, his friends, because it's going to be cheaper than a hotel?
No.
You're asking me still?
Hypothetically, yes.
I would not, but I would understand others who might be hosting a gaggle of dudes on
That's
vacation.
not a flippity flop. That's a gaggle.
For sports shenaniganery?
Yeah. Shenaniganery.
That might be worthy of a deposit and a daily rate.
Wait,
Feels good.
listen. I should have set this segment up a little better because the World Cup is in 2026, next summer, right? Okay. And so I also wanted your perspective. There's a lot happening in DFW in 2026. One of those things is Frisco
Might have a theme park.
might have a theme park opening. They have announced
They
it's
currently
May
have
2026
millions of pounds of concrete being poured every minute. But
Right.
they might have a theme park that next year.
currently.
Or
So,
two. There's technically two, right? Dude Perfect and Universal?
Yeah, I mean, wow. So
Whoa.
lot of like short-term rental opportunity, investment opportunity here.
We've
It's-
talked about short-term rentals
We
a
have.
lot, and I would summarize that by saying there's lots of different ways to look at this. If you're talking about your home and literally like I'm moving out for 3 or 4 weeks because World Cup is like people are going to pay me tons of money, that's different. That's one way to think about it. The economics of that are very different.
Thought it was a fun
If you're
angle.
talking about like I used to live near a field and now I live near a theme park, and people might want to rent my house for a week to come to Universal or Dude Perfect
Yes.
Land or whatever that's going to be called. That's different because that may be I own a house for that all the time.
Yes.
And then again, we're going to need to see how Frisco, Prosper, and some of those areas potentially require permitting or anything like that. But that to me is much more attractive because that's a long-term recurring investment, but that's just a personal preference.
Here's something that I think is going to be actually pretty interesting next year, and I, I would love your thoughts on it because I think for somebody that is thinking about selling next year, feels like a long way away, but let's just call it they're planning on moving the summer of 26. Maybe that's when their kids graduate. Maybe who knows what, but that's the date they've got in mind, and that happens for a lot of people where they do have to plan that far out.
Most people.
What impact will having, and I'm not exaggerating here, there's going to be well over 1 million visitors coming to DFW for World Cup, Universal, Dude Perfect in the month of like June.
Yep.
I mean, if you're talking, we've got, I think we have 9 games or 10 games here, and it's 100,000+ a game.
Yep.
You're going to have over 1 million people with all these things combined. What's that going to do to people that are thinking about putting their homes on the market? Because the traffic's going to be, I'm assuming, unbearable.
Couple things. First of all, that's only counting the actual attendees. Like
Correct.
all the peripheral events and shenanigans is crazy. Secondly, I don't know. I'm not going to lie about that. I will say this. It's going to make, in some ways, it's going to bring so many eyeballs to the DFW that I think it's a huge fuel for growth. In other ways, I think the traffic may be an absolute quagmire. Hotels, pricing and things like that will just be through the roof. Restaurants and all that stuff will thrive for a short period and then have a total like hangover effect after all that. So I would say net, it's going to be really, really positive for North Texas. I'd say if you're a local, there's a very high likelihood that you're not going to love that 3-month period. I was in Paris. I've only ever been to Paris once. I'm not trying to act cool. I was literally there for 12 hours. But it was before the Olympics last summer. And so there was scaffolding and equipment and machinery everywhere. So we're not even talking about the 6 months or a year leading up to it, which basically starts now.
There's going to be watch party. There's going to be all sorts of stuff.
And I'm just talking about all the prep and the traffic routing and the building of things and all that.
They actually announced that they're going to start selling tickets and selling the hotel rooms by the end of this year.
One last thing. I will say we talked a little bit about this years ago when the Super Bowl came. I remember it was like an ice storm and it was a disaster. But even that, those things do statistically prove to be a growth driver in the people come here who haven't been here before and like, oh, I'd like to come back, or I'd start a business there. That'd be a fun place to move, or maybe my kids will go to college there. It's like a month-long advertisement for the positives of North Texas. Now, if you have an ice storm, there are some negatives, or if the traffic is a total disaster or some infrastructure isn't prepared for it. But all that to say, I think it will be a net benefit. So I would not hesitate to buy or sell a home next summer because of that. It just may come with some real challenges of congestion and busyness and high cost of retail stuff, hotels, restaurants, recreational stuff that summer. And honestly, probably between now and then. So interesting deal. Courtney, I know you wanted to go back to the Daily article because you're so excited about the way we're talking about it. But I did want to talk really quickly about why do buyers and sellers and homeowners in DFW actually care about all that, right? I got all fired up about why it's bad information. It's not true about our industry. But the reality is the intent of the reporter, at least as stated, was that housing is too expensive. And so all this court stuff was supposed to make housing less expensive. Her argument was realtors and their commissions are being rolled into transactions and it's making them too expensive. In our experience, we're not trying to be the cheapest agent in the world. We've tried that before for 5 years, and we found that it was not best for the buyer and the seller. Much like the cheapest, laziest attorney is probably not the best for their client in court, and the cheapest accountant is probably not able to help you with your sophisticated stuff. The point I want to make is I want real estate agents to be excellent. Most are not. So you can make more money when selling if you have a great agent that markets homes differently, negotiates more effectively, manages that process for you so it's not a complete nightmare. And on the buy side, you can get a better house at a better price with a better experience and with appropriate expectations up front and access to vendors and savings and improved property values. And then forever and ever and ever, when you're not even buying and selling, you can maintain and enjoy and utilize your home and make sure you're being taxed appropriately. All those things come with expertise, and expertise comes with an exchange of value. So cheaper agents is not the solution to cheaper housing. By the way, why didn't they go after home builders? Why aren't they building smaller homes? Why aren't they building more affordable homes? Why is land cost so much that's making builders charge more? How come supply chains are so darn difficult and it's hard to get lumber sometimes, or aluminum for roof flashings? Like, real estate's a really complex situation.
It actually feels like they're building smaller homes with smaller lots for more money.
They are, because that's the only way to economically make sense of it. By the way, we talk about like the American dream. The American dream just like a generation and a half ago was like a 700 square foot, 2-bed, 1-bath house. And GIs came back from the war and were thrilled to have it. Now people are frustrated because they can't get their 4-bedroom, 3-car garage, half-acre lot for the price their grandparents did. By the way, if you could find a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 700 square foot house on a 6,000 square foot lot right now, which was the standard back then, it would be within your budget probably, but you would never live there. So a little bit of entitlement, and I'm not even mad about that. I'm just saying these things are always more complicated. So a headline is almost always excessively limited, and an hour-long radio show is almost not long enough to get into it. But I did want our friends, our listeners, our viewers, our clients to understand why we talk about stuff like that. I'm not arguing that it wouldn't be nice if real estate was more affordable for the average homeowner. I am arguing that it's not that simple, and attacking one group of people, even if they have a track record of not being very good, is not going to solve anything. As a matter of fact, it antagonizes the people who are working hardest on the solution. Deep breath. Now, if you, my friends, are thinking about buying or selling or investing in real estate, we're going to take that level of care and concern all the way down to your lifestyle level. What do you need? What do you want? What's the right timing for you? Who all's involved? What's your budget? What's determining why you want what you want? How can we help you make the very best decision when it comes to buying, selling, improving, maybe investing in a property, instead of just, what do you want? Where do you want it? Let's go find it. Hey, let's help understand what's this going to do for you. If it didn't work out this way, is there any compromises you're open to or unwilling to make? What are our non-negotiables? All of that happens completely free. No charge to you, no obligation. It's what we call a free strategy call or a free strategy session. It's better to be done as a session in person over a cup of coffee or a water or a Coke or Dr. Pepper, Topo Chico, whatever you're into. We do those in our office. We have part of our team is here in the Dallas side. Part of our team is over on the Fort Worth side. We can do that via Zoom or at least get started with a phone call that costs you nothing. You're not required to sign anything. Let's just have a conversation about what your goals are, what you want. You know, is when the kids graduate, we want X. If I get a promotion, then we want Y. I don't think we want to stay where we are. Doesn't mean you have to make a decision. That's just a free strategy session to talk through the marketplace, talk through the headlines, talk through the industry changes, talk through mortgage rates or commissions or timing, and just sleep a little bit better at night knowing that you've got some answers. You have a bit of a strategy. Whenever the right time for you is, we'll be there. We've been here for 20 years. We're going to be here for another 20 years. If we can help you with anything that in that regard, buying, selling, or just thinking a little more deeply, getting a little more clarity and confidence around your real estate, the phone number is 214-310-0008. I strongly encourage you to save that in your phone. So anytime you have a real estate question, you can just call or text 214-310-0008. And then if we are helping you buy, sell, or invest in real estate or remodel or anything, we're going to introduce you to some vendors and some companies that we really like and trust. Republic Title is one of those companies. We really, really like them as people and trust them as a professional, providing closing services and escrow services and transfer of title, things that are important whether you're buying, selling, refinancing, or anything like that. Sadly, we come across a lot of title companies that just aren't very good, that don't care enough and aren't good enough at the job. Republic Title is excellent. They care for people. They hire people who are detail-oriented and still care for people relationally, and they do a phenomenal job. We get excited every time we see Republic Title on a contract, and you can too. If you're buying, selling, refinancing, anything where you might need title, look at republictitle.com and tell them we sent you. Also, if you're thinking about upgrading the garage floors, the patios, the walkways, the deck, the pool deck, certainly a sport court or anything like that, goodgaragefloors.com has done a phenomenal job for my family in our garage and the sport court area, several of our very close friends, and a bunch of our clients as well. Check them out. Tell them we sent you, goodgaragefloors.com.
Do you know what all of our vendors have in common, Todd?
I have a couple of ideas. I think you're going website.
Not a single one of them is a flobbledy-floop.
Flobbledy-floop. That's because we just made that word up in the first segment.
But none of them are it.
They're all great.
Yeah.
Although some of their company names are fun to say, like Flobbledy-floop is fun to say. But I'll tell you what, if you're ever looking for any of the pros we talk to here on the show or that we trust, what they also have in common is that they are at toddtremonti.com under the radio tab. If you just go to toddtremonti.com, there's a tremendous amount of resources there that we've built locally for our friends in the DFW area. You know what you're not going to find there is a weather forecast or a horoscope or something that is not of value to you around your real estate. You will find a way to find out your property value in under a minute. to find out your home buyer readiness score, your home seller readiness score, to find out what a cash offer on your house would be, to track your equity, and of course, to search every house publicly available by any agent or brokerage in all of DFW. All of that is there for you at no charge at toddtremonteteam.com. That's toddtremonteteam.com. It's TRAMONTE. But just spell it as best you can. You'll find us on Google or Bing or Yahoo or whatever you're searching. toddtremonteteam.com. If you are thinking about making a move this summer, I don't know what you were waiting for to know that it was the summer real estate market. Spring break is come and gone. Mother's Day is here. Lots of folks are getting out of school this week or next week in the area. Summer is here. We spent some time last week with Ian really explaining to everybody sort of what the timeline looks like to give yourself enough margin, enough extra room to buy and or sell and move in and be settled before school starts again, or school zones pick up again, or work schedules get really intense again, or whatever your life seasons are. But if you want to buy and or sell a home for your family, for an investment, just for yourself this summer, the timetable is already a little bit tight. You do have time still, but in another 2 to 3 weeks, we'll be telling you are really cutting it close to be able to do that comfortably and responsibly without having to make some impulsive decisions that might not go well for you. So let's have that conversation right now. You don't have to make a decision or move forward right now, but have the conversation right now by Zoom or by phone, or best case scenario in person. And one of our team members will buy you Coke, cup of coffee, glass of water, Topo Chico, whatever you're into. 214-310-0008. You can call us, or you can just text the word strategy to 214-310-0008, or head over online.
ToddTremonteTeam.com.
If you have not checked your home valuation recently, you can do that on our website. Just head over to ToddTremonteTeam.com, click on the home valuation tab at the top, and you will be able to do that in less than a minute. Call it 47 seconds. You will be able to see what your home is worth, what it will sell for, rent for, type of home equity you've got. It's a really great place. You can actually get cash offers direct from there, or just reach out to us, and we will do something a little bit more custom for you. That's a home valuation. Just head over to ToddTremonteTeam.
Now, real quick, happy birthday, Mom.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom.
Happy Mother's Day is what I meant to say. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. Happy Mother's Day to
Hi Ian, it's Mum.
Hi,
Ian's
Mom.
But most importantly, the character that is Barb.
Barb.
What do you have to say?
Barb, happy Mother's Day, Barb.
From all of us.
From all of us. Honestly, you are a gift to the social medias. I'll have to put her up on the YouTubes. I'll give a little clip.
Check the socials, folks.
She is-
Happy Mother's Day to all the mamas. We are not at all foolish enough to know, to think that we could make it without you. We could not. It would be a real mess of a situation. If we can help you with your real estate needs or anything like it, 214-310-0008 or ToddTremonteTeam.com.